Persian Gulf and the Indus River Delta.
Alexander grew up in a kingdom that was continually at war, concealing within the depths of his soul a hero who had to disregard any kind of danger. He was always in the forefront of battle. He considered a real hero to be one who based glory on bravery, and a real leader one who set an excellent example for his fellow soldiers by his active participation in the battle. At crucial moments of his life, he could hear Aristotle's voice guiding him to make the right move in any kind of necessity or danger. The Aristotelian model heroes, which Alexander had to imitate in his life, not only to reach their level, but to surpass them, were Philip, Kairos, Hercules, and Dionysus. At this point, Arrianus writes, if he had added Europe to Asia, he would have been competing with himself, because there was no rival. Aristotle had told Alexander that in order to discover which was the supreme value, he should compare at least two values to ascertain the better one. Comparing the Egyptian, Babylonian, and the Indian ideas with the Greek, he firmly believed that not only were the Greek ideas superior, but they were also unique with the passing of each era. With a strong belief in Greek education, the incomparable Greek language, philosophy, art, poetry, literature, architecture, religion, and its profound cult rituals, he made it a decisive purpose of his life to conquer, immersed in superstition, suffering, and spiritual deficiency. As he entered each conquered country, he would bring the light of Greek civilization, a return of Greek wisdom, art, and education. Alexander established cities in Asia whose leaders were Greeks, familiar with democratic institutions and the principles of just government. Aristotle's thought was always in the back of his mind. A real conquest is the introduction of light into darkness, and a real conqueror is he who conquers the souls of his defeated rivals. With these basic principles in the mind and soul of the victorious army commander, the new generations in the Greek cities of Asia were now educated according to the model of Greek education, art, and science. Alexander zealously established Greek schools everywhere. In his Ethics, Plutarch informs us that when Alexander died, the procedure of founding new schools was already well underway.
When Alexander brought civilization to Asia, the reading material for the first grades were the epics of Homer, and the children of the Persians, the Susians, and the Gedrosians used to sing the choral excerpts from the works of Sophocles and Euripides. Because of Alexander, Bactria and the Caucasus turned to the worship of Greek divinities. In mystical Egypt, which at the time was deeply immersed in occultism and mysticism, Alexander introduced a textbook in the late 3rd century BC, which was specially designed to teach the Greek language as an official foreign language. The textbook contained excerpts from Homer and the great Greek dramatists.
Excavations in Afghanistan brought to light Greek temples, a theatre, and an odeum, next to a large Asian sanctuary of the 4th century BC. Modern-day views of Alexander the Great underline his major role as a bearer of Greek civilization, whose influence in education left its mark on the people, particularly of Eastern countries, right up to the present day.
Alexander had profound faith in the traditional Macedonian religion. Every day his thoughts were devoted to God, and he performed sacrifices under both normal and difficult conditions, even when he was ill. Every one of his successes and every element of his existence he believed were owed to the grace of the gods. In their honor, he organized festivities with extraordinary magnificence. Like Pindar, he believed in the presence of the Olympian gods in the world and in the superhuman feats of the legendary heroes Hercules and Achilles, whom he considered his ancestors. At the supreme moment of cult worship, Olympias would appear before his eyes when she spoke to him as a child about the Kabirian mysteries. From his childhood memories, he had retained as an eternal concept that the deities demonstrated their will through natural phenomena, through the oracles and prophecies expressed by divinely inspired men and women.
If a modern-day observer were to take an imaginary journey through the mind of Alexander the Great, with the aim of discovering the deepest essence of this incredible man, unique in world history, you could arrive at some new conclusions about the authenticity of his personality and his spiritual feelings. Let's begin with the religious Alexander. Religion, for Alexander, constituted a person's supreme expression of his obligation to the deity. God was very much alive in the soul of the great military commander. Esoteric voices in the depths of his being spoke to him of worlds of light, of a life beyond, that all actions in this world should remind him that the law of the stronger is love for his inferior. Through his religion, the great conqueror believed that one did not fight because he hated, but fought for justice, and above all, showed the requisite respect for his rival. It is well known from Marianus and Plutarch how tough the battle of Issus was. The confrontation between the forces of Alexander and those of Darius ended with the victory of Alexander. The Persian hordes, who for centuries had plagued the world, and particularly Greece, destroying temples, sacred sites, monuments and trophies at the Acropolis, Delphi and Olympia, had finally been defeated. The painting by Jean Lebrun depicts Alexander accompanied by his friend Hephaestion visiting the prisoners in their tent. Sisygambris, Darius' mother, thinking that Hephaestion is Alexander because he is taller, falls at his feet, begging for mercy. Without showing annoyance at the mistake, Alexander explains that his friend is also an Alexander, and the women should not be afraid, because Greeks have boundless respect for their prisoners of war. Alexander falls in love with Darius' younger daughter, Statira, but she confesses to him that she loves a Persian nobleman. Alexander forgets that he is a conqueror. He forgets the rights of the conqueror over the defeated. Bowing his head, he respects her decision and stifles his erotic passion for her with all the majesty of a divinely inspired military commander. In 324 BC, at a major symposium, attended by 9,000 officers and elders from all the tribes he had conquered, Alexander swore an oath, which he himself had written, demonstrating his magnanimity, his unbiased love for friend and foe, and his faith in the religious ideal and his worship of God.
Παιδιά, έχουμε στην υγεία σας.